Welcome everyone, Joe with ECRM here at our personal care session in Dallas. And with me is Nikki from Bodyform. And they launched their brand actually a year and a half ago and did their first session a year ago. And they have a really good story because they're very good at taking buyer feedback and incorporating it into their brand, the way they do business, their packaging. So we're gonna get into all of that today. But before we do, I'd like to have you talk a little bit about the brand. Since you are new. So, thank you for joining us. It's great to see you here. We actually know each other from New York. We've met on LinkedIn, and then we actually ran into each other at another event. So it's good to see you again. But take us through, the origin, the products, and your mission.
Absolutely. So, hello everyone, I'm Nikki. We launched Bodyform in the winter 2023. Prior to that, we noticed there was definitely a lack of products out there that were both accessible and extremely high quality. And at the same time, we learned about period poverty. So period poverty impacts 1 in 3 menstruating Americans, which leads to a lack of access to menstrual supplies, which leads to school absenteeism, unemployment, underemployment, medical issues. So we really wanted to combat that. So that's where Bodyform was born. On every single one of our products, it says fightperiodpoverty.org. We do a lot of advocacy in the space, and we really wanted to put out an incredible product at a dignified price. So that's kind of how we started, how we launched. And 6 months later, we went to our very first ECRM session. It was in Palm Springs at the time in 2024, and that is where our feedback began. We met with a bunch of buyers, and we were able to hear their thoughts on our product, given it was newly launched, and really incorporate a lot of that feedback into our products in the future.
So, and that's awesome. And I love the fact that you pretty much launched at
Correct.
the ECRM session. What did you do before launching the product? I'm very curious.
So prior to launch, there's a lot of R&D, getting the packaging right. We use a silk radiance finish, which sparkles. We wanted to make sure it looked good on the shelves and whatnot. And prior to that, it was honestly just a lot of scrappy calling buyers on our own, trying to get in touch with people, going roundabout ways, emails and whatnot. And what was really incredible about ECRM is we literally had that face time, that 10 to 20 minutes where we were really able to not only introduce the product, but hear their feedback, what their thoughts were on a product that is definitely in a space that has many players, but hearing what they thought about our mission, what they thought about the way it looked, the way it felt, we were really able to hear that firsthand without having to hunt them down, so to speak.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, take us through the products, because I do want to get into your meetings that you had last year and the feedback, like some more details on that. But take us through the products that you have here.
Yeah, definitely. So we launched with our first ever maxi pad. It is a regular without wings. And we got regular with wings as well, a long and a night. So these are our 4 maxi pads. This is a panty liner. We also have a long version. We also have a micellar wipe. We also have a flushable wipe because we wanted to kind of have a counter force to the men's flushable wipes that you see really popular these days. So ours are pH balanced, which people don't realize you actually need for women's flushable wipes. And this is our variety combo box. So actually, to kind of touch on last year's session, it was really helpful because we were able to figure out what our real winners were. So oftentimes people would come to us being like, rank your products. What's the most popular? And I didn't really have an answer. I was like, oh, well, we just launched. And at ECRM session, we had buyers be like, this is what's good, this is what's good, this is what's good. And right off the bat, we're like, okay, now we know this is white space that we could play in. This is something that's not really on the market. So for example, this product, which is our variety combo box, wasn't really on the market. You don't really see combinations of panty liners and period pants at a really good affordable price. So this by and large, we're able to be like, okay, cool, we have a bestseller.
All right, well, you brought up an interesting point too, because when you first launched, did you do e-commerce or how were you getting consumer feedback before you met with the buyers?
So we were able to get in touch with a few retailers early on who really liked our pricing and our mission. So we had some retail entry, and we were selling on Amazon.
Okay.
And we always wanted to enter retail.
Okay. So so you had at least something to work with as
Correct.
far as Amazon sales as a guide, and then when you came to the meetings themselves, right? Well, first, how did you find out about ECRM?
So we're part of a larger family business, and we've had ECRM sessions in the past.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you weren't going in cold. You knew about us, but
Correct.
this was the first time for this product. Okay.
Correct.
So
And it was my first time.
your first time.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're getting ready. You know, how did you prepare in advance, right? Because you know who you're going to be meeting with in advance. What kind of prep work did you do? And then from there, we'll get into your approach to the meetings themselves. But how'd you prepare for your meetings beforehand?
Yeah, definitely. So before the meetings, they give you a list of everyone you're meeting with, and they also give you profiles, which is amazing because you can really kind of get to know the people ahead of time. So I went and I added people on LinkedIn. I emailed them ahead of time being like, can't wait to see you at the ECRM session. And it's actually pretty cool because in these buyer meetings, they're like, thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn. Like, it was great to meet you. So excited that we could have that dialogue ahead of time. I also printed everything out. I made notes in all the margins being like, okay, this is what they're looking for. This is what they're looking for. I checked ahead, saw what they had on their website, saw what their current offering was. I really wanted to make sure when they walked into that room, I could use up every minute effectively and efficiently.
No, that's great. That's great. And you know, I think you bring up something that is good for brands to do, is that LinkedIn connection beforehand.
Yeah.
Start this way. When you get into the room with the buyer, you're familiar to them, even if it's just your LinkedIn profile. And then if you do communicate with them ahead, right, because they're busy, they're getting ready. But if you have a little bit of a back and forth ahead of time, it's not like you're an unknown quantity getting into the room. You're not starting from scratch, because people don't realize that this is all relationships.
Right.
You're building those relationships. So if you can come in a little warm from a previous conversation, again, buyers are busy. They may not always reply as you're preparing.
Right.
But that link, I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn. In fact, that's how we met, was LinkedIn first. And then I forgot what it was. You posted something, or there was something. We met on LinkedIn somehow.
I posted that I was coming to the session.
Yes, okay, yes. So then I reached out. I was like, listen, I want to meet with you while you're there, because I always love bridging the gap from the digital on LinkedIn to in person. In fact, I often say the whole reason for getting on LinkedIn is to get off LinkedIn.
Right.
And ultimately in front
100%.
of that. So, and then we just happened to be at the Retail Media IQ Women of Influence event, where our EVP was one of the award winners, and I saw her run by me. And then you were leaving. It was at the end.
Out,
And I was like, Nikki. So here we are today. So, but I think it's so important to have those connections, engage with them whenever you can. So now you're in your meetings, right? So let's say, the buyer walks in. How do you structure that meeting? Because obviously you leave time for discussion.
Definitely.
Because you've gotten such great feedback. So how do you structure your meetings? And then we'll get into the soliciting feedback part.
Yeah, no, definitely. So when they walk into the room, obviously you do your highs, hellos, where are you coming in from? Just this session, we had really horrendous travel delays, cancellations delays. So
everybody.
I had 2 flight cancellations. So there's definitely been a lot of dialogue around that.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I tell them I know exactly where you're coming from, but I'd love to hear an overview of how you describe your business and what you're looking for.
Okay.
And so they kind of give me an overview, and usually in their overview, they're like, yeah, and then this session, we're looking kind of for XYZ. We're not looking for ABC. We're looking for EFG. And from there, I'm like, all right, so that kind of brings me to
And you set the stage. You already tell them, listen, I did some research. I know your background. So it's not like you're going in cold saying, hey, tell me about your company, which they do not like. If you didn't do any research at all, the last thing you want to do is go tell me about your company. You don't want to waste that much time. So you set the stage. You said, listen, I am familiar with you.
Correct.
I checked out, did a little research on you.
Yeah.
But tell me, is there any updates?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we found that that's really effective because right off the bat, they're able to tell you, all right, this is specifically what I'm in this session for. Because oftentimes they're not just looking for a regular 14 count pad. Maybe they're looking for a larger ticket item. And that's where I can just be like, okay, I know you're not looking for the onesies, twosies of the world. You're looking for a product like this.
Okay. And that saves time.
Correct.
It saves time. This way you can really focus on the ones they're interested in. So that's an important point.
And then you're not wasting time being like, oh, well, this is a panty liner or this is a micellar wipe. You kind of get to the specifics. And if they say they're looking at this entire range and they're like, well, I don't know if any of this fits, that's when I'm like, okay, well, what would fit? We had some buyer feedback, so I don't have it here, but we have a period pant, which is an overnight disposable period pant. You wear it and then you toss it the next day. And we had buyer feedback. They really liked the product, but they thought it was too large on their shelf. And I was like, okay, I know you like this product and this is a big buyer. I'm like, how can I fix this so I can make it for you? Because given we're a small company, we can afford to be quite nimble. And they're like, well, we want it this size. And then here we were like messing around with the period pant. We're like shaping it. Okay, like something like this. And they're like, yeah, that would work for us.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? Great. I'll send a mock-up to you next week. You can tell me what you think.
Okay.
And I think that's where we try to leave as much room for discussion for. Like right off the bat, I want to know what they're looking for. That way I can get rid of everything that they're not looking for.
Yes. Yeah.
So we found that was really effective in kind of like identifying their pain points and seeing how we can address it.
Okay. And that's really critical, identifying the pain points. And that takes time sometimes. So you want to, you want to pitch, you're going to pitch your products.
Yes.
But walking into it with a little bit of a guide, right? Based on their feedback, you have that conversation. What are you interested in? What, has anything changed? Anything different from maybe what they put on the portal in terms of their needs and objectives?
Correct.
And then when the rest of it is in the follow-up because it's rare. Now she did have a win or two from that one, which again, that's unusual. That quickly, your new brand to have the wins right off the bat. But then the other ones that will come later are based on the feedback and these little adjustments, right? The buyer's like, well, we can't take it in its current form. Then you go back to the drawing board, fix it based on their feedback, come back to them, and they love it because it's like, we did this because of you. We did this because you said it's what you needed. And then, so how did that buyer react when you came back with the mock-up?
Oh, the mock-up was this session.
Oh, this one.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, we're gonna get it to you.
Okay.
But in general, buyers do react quite favorably. Like for example, last year we met with people who originally this was a different color. The regular, it was a different color. And the buyer was like, in this industry, we are conditioned when we see regular, it should be yellow.
Yeah.
Done. We'll do
Okay.
it. So we've taken feedback like that, and I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And then we go back to them and they're like, oh, wait, you did it. And I'm like, yeah, I did do it. Which is quite
They appreciate
exciting.
that because it's like they feel like they have some buy-in, there's some input into the package. And if they think it's partly their idea, like psychologically they have some ownership over it. And I used to do that when I was in the trade media as a salesperson. When I would sell custom publishing, instead of presenting something to them, I'd sit next to them with a blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
And we'd create it together.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, it's their idea. How are they not going to like their idea?
No, definitely.
So you're kind of doing a little bit of that in your meetings with them. And then now do sometimes, I know we always advise against like just walking through everything, and you kind of cut to the chase by getting their feedback first at the beginning of the meeting. Are there cases when they do want to see everything, they want to walk through?
Absolutely. So I think given this is our second ECRM, which is pretty cool, I realize, I'm learning, when you keep coming, you kind of just know the buyers at one point.
Yes.
So what was pretty cool about this year, it was a lot of like, oh my God, hi, I haven't seen you like since last year. How have things been going? What's new? What's up? And I think definitely those are the conversations where it's so much easier to hop right in. For the buyers that we're meeting for the very first time, that's definitely where they're like, all right, tell me about the brand. And then obviously I'm so excited to tell them about Bodyform, the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we walk through the comprehensive line, is usually when they're like, I don't know anything about this, tell me more. Otherwise, there's the other case where they're saying, oh no, like, this is what we're looking for more specifically. So I think, it's definitely on us to tailor it to figure out what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, the buyers like to hear the story and meet the person behind it, and that's really impactful.
Yeah, and those repeat buyers, so you're going to get a mix of some buyers you saw last time and then some new ones.
Yeah.
But again, that's part of building the relationships, is you want to see them again and again and again, because one, you have that familiarity. You have, now you could progress to the next steps in the conversation, because there's a lot of reasons why the buyer may not need your products that first time.
100%.
Or the second, maybe they just put in a competing product or a similar products, and they have to give them an honest shot first. So you want to just stay in touch with them, because the meeting, sometimes it takes years to get that buyer. Sometimes it can happen in months.
Yeah.
So now, and it's all in the follow-up. The follow-up is important.
Yes.
So you have the follow-up, and you have that's continuing the relationship. So
100%.
what are your follow-up? Because I also want to get into the networking stuff too.
Yes.
But, in the follow-ups, how do you approach your follow-ups after the meeting?
So during the meeting, I am viciously taking notes in terms of like what they're looking for, what to follow up. And at the end, I always try to be like, all right, so next steps. What does this look like for you? This is what you need from us. This is what I need from you. You're going to hear from me in X number of days. And I make sure that my follow-ups are extremely bespoke. Like, you never want to send out the great to meet you, blah, like whatever. You want to make sure it's extremely tailored to the person and the conversation that you had, and you get them what they're looking for. So I'll do that, and usually we'll maybe have a meeting afterward, or if they say that, we had people say, listen, we're not reviewing this category till February of 2026. We are in July of 2025. Then usually I'll do a touch base in fall, just be like, hey, looking forward to reviewing with you, such and such, and then I'll follow up with them again. And actually I had a buyer tell me, I hadn't seen her in a year and we hadn't really spoken, but she said, I appreciate that you've been following up with me almost quarterly throughout the year, because I remember you.
Yeah.
She's like, I can just walk in and be like, hey, Nikki, what's up? And I'm like, oh, good, I'm glad you like that.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Buyers are incredibly busy.
Correct.
And they may miss your email.
100%.
And unintentionally, they get hundreds of emails a day. They do appreciate you bringing it to the top of their inbox.
Right.
As long as you're not overly aggressive.
Yes.
And especially if they are interested in your product, well, they it's not a no. It may be a no for now, but down the road. So you want to stay in touch with them. I also like the fact that you tailor your messages to the buyer, and that's the relationship part too. In the conversation, maybe there's something unique you talked about, or like you said, travel was a theme for this whole, because there was so many delays with you had the storms in the Northeast. New York is flooded, where we're both from. But then you had, obviously, Texas had some storms. So that was a theme that everybody's talking about today. So it's a good thing, easy thing to remember.
Right.
But and then as far as samples, how do you approach that? Do you ask them, or just how do you do that?
Yeah, so when we're rounding out the conversation and I'm discussing the next steps, I say, all right, so I'm sending you a sample of this, and they say yes for sure. And then when I follow up with them, I just confirm that those are the samples they want. And then I send them a tracking number, and they receive them. And then after they receive them, I offer around 2 weeks after, like, have you had the chance to review? Would love to discuss. And usually by then, I think it's better to discuss as soon as they've gotten the samples, because it's fresh in their mind. They're able to remember our conversation and the product and the message and the mission. So
cool. Now, also here, there's a lot of opportunities for networking, right?
Yes.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. We had the Western themed evening last night with some line dancing lessons. And are you a big networker? Do you reach out or look for the buyers that you've met with afterwards, or how do you work it?
what's pretty cool about ECRM, we're all in the same hotel. Our our meetings are taking place a couple floors away from our hotel room. So I actually feel like I keep running into the buyers in the elevators or when I'm getting breakfast. And I mean, I just do a hi, hello. Obviously, like no one wants to be sold to while they're just living about their lives. That's for the sessions. But I mean, when I was getting coffee, I was chatting with a buyer that I saw a few hours ago, and we're just discussing all things like New York and travel and whatnot. So I think that's really cool. You're truly in the same place as the buyers, the sellers. We're all here, which means these random occurrences are very easy and very casual.
Yeah, I call them, you have a lot of serendipitous opportunities.
Correct.
But also, it's cool that when you do run into them, again, you're not selling them.
No.
If you run into them, you're getting coffee, you just talk about whatever. But it's that FaceTime. They're seeing you in a different context. Because conversations, when I like to tell a lot of brands that are new to this, when you're having the conversations, it's the same thing with LinkedIn. Anything that you would talk about during a cocktail reception, I think is good for LinkedIn. And it's not always about business. People talk about family, they talk about hobbies, they talk about other things, including the industry.
Right.
So, because everybody they're not just buyers or brands. Some of them are parents. Some of them are students. Some of them, they have different hobbies. They're athletes, or, they may like to travel. There's so many things to talk about and relate to people that I think it's important to get to know each other on a human level in addition to the business part, because we do business with people.
Yeah, exactly. It's truly a people business. It's definitely something that I've learned a lot over the last couple of years of being here.
Yeah, and then and so you have had successes already. Can you talk a little bit about those? What was involved?
Yeah, no, I mean, so last year when we launched, we had people come into the store. I'm not the store. What am I saying? Our room. And we were able to kind of have a dialogue with them, and they said they were interested, but they weren't 100% sure. But I just kept the conversation going. I had dialogue with them. I'd check in with them, seeing, have you had the chance to review? Is your category review coming up? Have you any space on the shelf? And within 6 months, again, we got really lucky. They gave us an order, and it was a great order. And they committed to the next following months after that initial order, because they saw the product was selling really well. And I just think it was cool. It was on shelves, and like my cousin lives in the cities where this store exists, and he would send me photos being like, wait, there's Bodyform on the shelf here? And I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. It's really cool. So I think it's really so important to have that follow-up, because I mean, at the end of the day, like we were saying, it is a people business, and people do want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
Like these people aren't out to get you. Like if they like your brand, they like your vision and your mission. People like to work with people that they like. So I think that's also really important.
That's so true. That's so true. And once the products are on the shelf, how do you support sales at the shelf?
So we have our internal marketing. We are on the socials, LinkedIn, not Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. So we definitely do promote like, hey, we're here in these stores. On our website, it's like a where to buy. So we make sure that once we're in the stores, we can provide that support to make sure people know that we're there and they can buy them at those stores.
Yeah, because that's important for the buyer too. It's not just a matter of getting on the shelf.
Yeah.
It's how you're going to get it off the shelf into consumers' baskets.
Correct.
So you have to have that. You have to let the buyer know how you're going to support sales once you're in there. And then do you visit the stores as well?
If I can, I do.
Yeah.
I really try to. I mean, there's something really. No one tells you about what it's like when you first see the product on the shelf. I think it's this weird kind of surreal moment, because when you spend months developing this and the packaging and making sure it looks right, and then you see it there, and then you see it kind of empty. There's not that many behind it, which means people have been buying it, and you're like, yes.
Yes, that's got to be a great feeling. It's got to be an awesome feeling. So speaking of social media, you're very active on LinkedIn. I think, like I mentioned before, I think brands should all be active on LinkedIn, because buyers are surprisingly active on LinkedIn. Yeah. How do you leverage LinkedIn as part of your overall B2B sales efforts?
Yeah, so I think for us, just given a lot of our ethos and our mission is around alleviating period poverty and kind of combating it. We use our platform as a tool for advocacy. So we post a lot of information, facts, bills that are getting passed. I do a lot of advocacy work. We post all of that and we try to bring it to the forefront. And then along the way, the Bodyform products are also part of that. For us, it's for LinkedIn, it's a tool, it's a resource, and also it's a way to meet other people. But I also think it's really impactful when brands see that buyers see that you're doing things outside of just sales. Like there's a lot of work behind it that I think LinkedIn kind of gives a voice to. So I definitely do use it. And I think that's also why I messaged buyers on LinkedIn prior, because I wanted them to see the work that we were doing and that we weren't just like, oh yeah, like end period. Like that's not what we do. We literally, we put our money where our mouth is and we try to make sure we're combating it in a way that's respectful.
And it's provides you with a lot of interesting content that you could put on LinkedIn. Like you said, you don't want to just throw your products on there. It's not. This is where they're getting to know you, the company, the mission, and you know, since you are really passionate about that mission, you have a lot to talk about with it.
Yeah. No, definitely.
How did that get started? What was the origin of that mission?
So I have a finance background. I worked in finance for 4 years in New York City. And I think it just kind of started when I heard from my friends and my own experiences how it was a little difficult to get period products in our restrooms. I think that it was expensive and oftentimes companies didn't want to provide it. I was thinking, if companies that me and my friends work for in New York City aren't providing these products, how are other people doing it? And so I went to a conference about it. I learned more about it. I met with nonprofits in this space, and I learned that there was a real need for accessible, dignified period products that people felt good about buying, that worked and were affordable. And that's kind of how that all coalesced. I'm lucky where we have had the resources to bring these products to life expeditiously and in a manner that didn't sacrifice quality or anything.
Okay.
So,
and it's a family business?
Yes. So we have a family business. My family's been in feminine hygiene, wipes, diapers for the last over 25 years.
Okay.
So this is an internal brand that we have, and I took it, I put the message together, and I ran with it.
Awesome. So what's next for Bodyform?
That's a good question. I mean, given it's been 1.5 years, we have retail presence as well as some institutional presence as well. I think for me, the goal at large has always been, I want these products in the hands of the people who need them. And so I think it's getting them in the hands, whether it be through institutions, getting them through nonprofits or organizations and donations, or getting them in stores where they have access to it, whether it be in rural, urban areas. And the more stores and points of collection and places that they can access them, the better. So just more places, the better.
Well, you're definitely passionate about it. It comes through all the time. So, well, I wish you the best in that, and I know you guys are going to do well because you're doing all the right moves. So,
thank you.
Congratulations on your success already. I look forward to seeing more of it.
Thank you so much. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.